Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Vladimir Putin was supposed to schedule a meeting with Erdogan, the president of Turkey, in Turkey this month, in the latest part of August. Well, they canceled that one. Erdogan said, well, I will meet Putin, I will catch him at a G20 meeting or maybe at Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Well, then Erdogan said, you know what, I'm going to go to Moscow. The Russian government confirmed that they will meet, but they couldn't give a date, claiming that Putin is very busy. His schedule is very busy. Now we find out that Putin will not attend the G20 summit. Why is that? Well, I have Russia Today here telling us, and the reason. Well, I don't think that's I read a little bit this little article, and I don't think that's the accurate reason. I think the reason is different one. Prigozhin, hint, hint, hint. And I think that was also, I mentioned the same reason why Putin did not attend Johannesburg BRICS summit in South Africa. Not because South Africa would have arrested him or something like that, arrested him. No, it's because he, I think, two things. Too far from home, fly too long, in the air too long, and would put South Africa in a difficult position now. Well, later, they will not give a shit, but right now things are still in creation. So let's see what Russia Today says about Putin's G20 summit attendance. 25th of August 2023. Putin won't travel to India for G20 summit, Kremlin. Details of the Russian president's participation in the high-profile gathering are still being worked out, spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. Russian President Vladimir Putin has no plans to attend next month's meeting of G20 leaders in India in person, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. The exact format of the Russian leadership participation has yet to be decided, Peskov told journalists on Friday. The summit in New Delhi is scheduled for September 9 to 10 and will be the pinnacle of India's leadership of the club of the leading world economies. So this week, Putin participated via video link in the summit of BRICS leaders in Johannesburg after declining to travel to South Africa. The host nation has invited the Russian president, so that's South Africa, although his potential arrival would have placed South Africa in a difficult position due to its commitments to the International Criminal Court. So the ICC, blah, 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 unlike South Africa, India has not signed the Rome Statute, the legal treaty underlying the ICC's jurisdiction. However, previous G20 events have been marred by the US-led campaign to condemn Russia. Western nations claim that Moscow must be, quote-unquote, isolated. Yeah, by you, 40 countries, that's all. The rest of the world is not isolating them. Isolated diplomatically as punishment for the Ukraine crisis. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov headed Moscow's delegation at the summit of G20 leaders in Bali last November. Ahead of the meeting, Western media reported that the office of US President Biden was preparing contingency plans to prevent him from ending up in the same room as Putin, should the Russian leader attended in person. This is nice narcissistic behavior, because in the world affairs, you use diplomacy if you really want to solve a problem. If you don't want to solve the problem, you don't talk and you don't meet the other person. So the Americans, who had no restrictions in having Biden show up over there, they were thinking how to avoid them being in the same room, like breathing the same air with Putin will get you smarter. Well, no. It will not get you smarter. You're going to remain a dumbass. So, okay. So here, my friends, they didn't mention in this article the exact reason, but I read another one, and I think from Sputnik, where Peskov said, well, he has a busy schedule, and we don't know yet about Erdogan and the summit in G20. The fact is, If he says Lavrov, if he sends Lavrov over there, would be just as okay, I think, for everybody else. But why would you want to go to a shit show? Because imagine over there being like children in a classroom. You have little groups that, and these are adults, they're supposed to, discuss issues. Now, the discussions is you're bad, I'm good, and we start from those premises. How can you have a conversation? Imagine you have a conversation with, I don't know, at work, and someone tells you, I'm not going to talk to you because you're bad, and I'm good. Why? Because I think you made a mistake. I never made a mistake. That's the presumption already. Anyway, my friends, this is Russia doesn't have to attend the G20 anyway. Putin, let's put it this way, he doesn't have to in person. Yeah, it sends a message or something, but they're already thinking of BRICS. Maybe his point is not over there just to, he doesn't want to mangle with those guys, is, you know what, maybe I'm not going to recognize the G20 anymore. Maybe the BRICS will be our G7, or right now more than 7, it's G11, right? Because they admitted six countries. With the 5 that were in the BRICS, there are now 11 countries. And those, they have just the 11 countries. They have the energy, supply on this planet in their hand. Most of it. They have 37% of the GDP of the global GDP in BRICS right now. More than half of the world population belongs to BRICS. Where is G7? Less than that in population, less than that in the GDP, in global GDP. So Putin, I think, could say, you know what, how about I'm delegitimizing the G20? As I legitimize G7. It's the same. I mean, G7 are 7 countries, most industrialized, from the what? 195. When these guys talk about the global community or the world community, they don't think about the 195 countries. They think about their little club of 3 countries. That's all. And the club is actually owned by one with a house servant, Great Britain, and the other ones are just plantation slaves cutting sugarcane. Woo, 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 woo. That's it. And sometimes France wants to become brings the mail in, and tries to remain a house servant, but Great Britain is fast to kick France out back in the field. It's like children. But anyway, and this is the world community, their world community. I don't like that kind of world community. And the United Nations is ignored whenever United States wants to ignore it, it ignores it. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. It has the same 40 countries, and that's it. And those 40 countries are what? Canada, a few, Palau, Gabalau, Tsapalau. They have the European Union, not entirely. They have Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Japan. And that's about it. You get about mostly 45. I give them 50. Let's say 50. So I give them what? Let's say one quarter of the global population is a monolith, kind of, is kept together with threats, blackmail, money, and interest. It's like in a gang. The boss gets everything, the spoils, and then he just disperses, crumbs to the rest who participated in the crime. You want to see? Look at what happened with Yugoslavia. Who was the boss? Who were the guys who got the crumbs? What were the crumbs? Look right now where Serbia is, and where Kosovo is, and who got the crumbs? European Union. I think they kicked themselves in the balls because that's Kosovo is US, not the European Union, and many others. I don't have to go back to Saddam, right? Who attacked whom? Again, one boss, because the boss doesn't attack by himself. He wants to build legitimacy by, hey, we're not alone. These guys were with us. These guys were with us. So we are the allies. No, you're the Axis, I think. You're not the allies. And I refuse to call these allies because they take the word allies like they are the ones from the Second World War, the good guys. The good guys that gave half of Europe to Soviet Union, to a criminal, to the Georgian Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin. Those are the good guys. You're telling me that? Left half of Europe to the evil communist system ideology under a criminal, mass murderer, genocidal. Remember Holodomor, Ukraine? So who are those again? Do I need to mention the Hungarian uprising or the Czech uprising? What, 56 or whatever it was, 54, 50, whatever it was, Hungary, and in 68 in Czechoslovakia? Do I need to mention that? Where were the free countries? They were hiding. Why is that? They were afraid? I don't think so. I don't think they were afraid. I think they had an understanding. Was business as usual. That's your sphere of influence. This is my sphere of influence. And that's how we dominate the world. Isn't that strange? Because these guys fought that guy who wanted to dominate the world, but somehow they got to dominate the world. So how we got from 1 to 2? Please, my friends, let's not be tards here. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.